Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive. I continue my series talking about the classes of Dark Sun by talking about the darker side of magic, the Defilers. The short of it is, Defilers are mages who take shortcuts in their learning magic and develop techniques where they just cast a spell quickly and without care for the environment, causing destruction of life around them. It's a little bit more complicated than that, so sit back, relax, and enjoy as we talk about Defilers on Athas. Going back briefly to how magic works in Dark Sun. Whenever a magician, whenever a wizard casts a spell, he pulls from the life force around him. Preservers give back some of that energy when they cast spells. Defilers don't bother. Or, as it's put in the core book, Defilers are very good at the taking, they're not so good at the giving back. Again, of course, this gets to the ecological allegory that was sort of the core of Dark Sun. That this was a world destroyed by the very thing that makes a fantasy world a fantasy world. But Defilers are interesting in a couple ways. The first is what happens when a Defiler casts their spells. Those spells destroy an area of life. And no, I don't mean like they make plants wilt. I mean, when a Defiler casts a spell, depending on what is in the area, a stony barren, a first level spell covers 10 yards in what it affects. While a scrub plain or a verdant belt around an oasis, it takes up much less area. But here's the problem. That area that the Defiler casts a spell in, it's not the plant's wilt. It is every life-sustaining nutrient in that area is leached out in the casting of that spell. And that radius, that area around the Defiler, cannot support life for a year, minimum. But that top layer of soil has been stripped of all life-sustaining nutrients. And so unless something actually puts those in after the ash finally blows away, that area still won't be able to support life. And there's another little side effect. If a Defiler casts a spell and there are living beings within that, while they don't take damage, they are put into pain based on the level of the spell cast. And that pain subtracts from their initiative score, making them go later than they would have. It won't stop them from acting, but it will make sure that no matter what, they go later. And the worst part about Defilers is once they start casting spells in a spot, that radius around them keeps getting bigger. You go by the highest level spell cast, and then every spell additionally, every spell beyond that, you add another yard. If it's a spell of the same level as the one you cast, well, that just adds another yard. But let's say, for example, you were casting a Scrub Plains. you dropped a fireball 4 yards around that mage would be turned into black, lifeless ash. He casts a magic missile. It just adds 1 yard for a total of 5 yards. But then, say he goes ahead and casts Meteor Swarm, a 9th level spell. That would go from 5 yards to the 6 yards of the Meteor Swarm, plus 2 more for the 2 lower level spells, for a total of 8 yards. Though if he'd cast a lower spell, it would have just been 6. If he had cast another 3rd level spell, it would have just been 1 yard, for a total of, at that point, 6 yards. Now, where it gets bad is when you're talking about casting in like areas like salt flats. Cast the magic missile, that's 10 yards. Cast the fireball, that jumps to 17 yards for the fireball, plus 1 for the magic missile, for 18 yards. Cast the meteor swarm, that jumps to 30 yards for the meteor swarm, and then 2 more yards for the lower level spells cast, for a total of 32 yards. And that's bad stuff, because that's a large area. Because remember, that's not diameter, that's radius. So that 32 yards is 64 yards all around. And that is a huge area. Well, huge when you take into account that you're dealing with a world that is mostly desert, and every sort of scrub life is necessary just for people to eke by a meager existence. Now, what do Defilers get for all this? They get fast advancement. They get really fast advancement overall for a wizard. To reach 10th level, they have to accrue 70,000 experience points less than a normal wizard. To reach 20th level, they have to accrue over 1,000,000 XP less than a preserver. In fact, they will hit 20th level before a fighter. The only class that will actually hit 20th level before a Defiler is going to be the Thief. They are tied with the second fastest class in 2nd edition for reaching 20th level, in that they reach 20th level at the same time as a cleric. Some of their lower levels, they're a little bit behind clerics. But when you get to the highest end, they're at the same rate as the cleric. And that is Defilers. They are outlaws universally. Sorcerer Kings don't want someone leeching up their resources, and no one else wants someone leeching off the resources they need to survive. So they don't even work well together, because they're not good aligned. And one of the concepts in the D&D 2nd edition was that being able to work together was a factor of being good, because evil would inherently backstab itself, and neutral wouldn't care. That, like I said, that was one of the little quirks of the AD&D 2nd edition alignment system. But what it meant was, while Preservers had their Veiled Alliance, where they worked together to keep everyone together, keep everything working, etc., protect each other, Defilers don't have anything like that. Because, there's enough Defilers who would stab each other in the back just to get ahead. A Defiler can't really trust one of his own kind. But that is the Defilers. Next week, I'm going to start talking about the Divine classes, the Divine Casters, the Priestly classes, by talking about the Cleric. Until then, I'd like you all to remember to have fun and keep gaming.